Yeah, it's done.
That started. I'll close this. That started.
Okay.
So
All right.
you can let this thing play maybe twice, sure.
Once, I think once is better.
Okay. So you'll be once you Pastor, don't talk, you are live already.
Good evening, everybody. It's a beautiful day. I'm glad to be with you again tonight as we start our broadcast on Awaken the Leadership in You. Today we start a new book entirely different to what we have just finished, and that is titled Hyperfocus, written by Chris Bailey. The book is to help you and I to know how to be productive with our work on a daily basis. Now, the whole essence of the book is to help you to be able to have a grip on what you do consciously on a daily basis without necessarily losing losing your steam. It's how to be more productive in a world of distraction, and the book is written by Chris Bailey. Let me just give yours a little profile of Chris Bailey. Chris Bailey is a productivity and performance expert. His first book, The Productivity Project, was translated into 11 languages. In addition to his blog, alifeforproductivity.com, Chris Bailey has written articles which have been published in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, New York Magazine, and Harvard Business Review. He's a graduate of Carleton University. So, this book, I chose it because of the need for us to be focused on our work and how to be more productive, how to gain mileage from the hours we spend on a daily basis. So the main idea of the book is that the book Hyperfocus is your brain's most productive mode. Hyperfocus, that is focusing on an hyper level, is your brain's most productive mode. You enter the hyperfocus state by expanding one task or project until it fills your attentional space to the exclusion of all other competing thoughts. You make a single task or project the sole focus of your attention. Hyperfocus is critical to achieving your goal, even in the midst of distractions. With so many things competing for your attention all the time, hyperfocus might feel like an elusive luxury, but the reality is you can enter this thinking mode at any time. All you have to do is deliberately and purposefully manage your attention and systematically eliminate any and all distractions. If you have started this year with a focus, with a goal, in setting goal, you have an acronym SMART that you usually will use, and the fact that it's time-based requires that you have to learn how to focus within the time frame which you have to achieve your goal. This is where this skill of knowing how to get into an intentional space of focus is important, that you know how to enter in and get out of it, so that you can scale up to achieve exactly what you have set out to achieve for the year. So hyperfocus is incredibly energizing. When you immerse your thoughts into what is most important, you will always feel more relaxed, more engaged, and much more productive. 1 hour of hyperfocus can generate more results than an 8-hour work day. An 8-hour work day. Normally you have 9 hours work. You live 9 to 5. 9 to 5 means 8 hours work actually, and you have a lunch break within it. You see, if you have 1 hour of hyperfocus, it can generate more results than an 8-hour work day filled with distractions, interruptions, and sidetracks. Chris Bailey, the author of this book, says hyperfocus means you are less busy because you are permitting fewer objects into your attentional space. There is a space called attention that you need to know how to enter into that and focus in that and give all your attention to that space. Picking which tasks to work on ahead of time lets you focus on what is actually important in the moment. This has never been more crucial than in a knowledge work environment where there are so many things that are clamoring for your attention. Where not all tasks are created equal, they have different importance attached to them, level of importance attached to our task on daily basis. So Chris Bailey continues to say, this is counterintuitive but absolutely essential advice. The more demands made on your time, the more essential it becomes to choose what and how many things that you pay attention to. You are never too busy to hyperfocus. Albert Einstein says, it's not that I'm so smart, it's just that I stay with problems longer. That is focusing. And that is very, very important. So what exactly is hyperfocus? As we summarize this book written by Chris Bailey, how can I advise you? You can check it up on Amazon to see how it can be. You can own the book, either the e-book or the hard copy, the physical copy of the book. So what is hyperfocus? Hyperfocus is where you become so engrossed in your work, you enter into a flow state where you become ultra productive. You get lots done because your entire mental faculties are tightly centered on the singular task and project at hand. Hyperfocus is highly energizing and even addictive because you accomplish an incredible amount in a short period of time. So, but how do you hyperfocus? To be in hyperfocus mode, you have to learn how to get there and then how to stay there for extended periods of time. These challenges call for two different approaches. First, the entry level. You need to choose a productive task. You need to eliminate distractions. You need to bring your focus to bear and keep returning attention. That is the entry point. The second approach is maintaining after you have entered that flow state where you become ultra productive. When you have entered the hyperfocus state where you become engrossed. So what do you need in that state? Is stay distraction free. This is how you maintain your hyperfocus after you have entered that flow, that state of the flow of you being engrossed. You stay distraction free, you simplify your environment, you expand your attentional space, and you make hyperfocus a habit. When should you do the opposite? What is the opposite of hyperfocus? Is scatterfocus. And when should you do the opposite? Now, hyperfocus is your brain's most productive mode, but your most creative thought will probably come when you are not focused on much at all, when you're relaxed. Your most creative thought come in a relaxed mode. So scatter focus is where you let your mind wander and see if that generates some interesting ideas. And you know that you may give room for that on a daily basis to see how you do with that, where you let your mind wanders to be able to generate ideas, interesting ideas, that you can arrest one of them and turn it to an object of your focus, creating a flow of hyperfocus for yourself. So scatter focus, you give your mind time and space to think expansively and creatively. So how do you scatter focus? Now these are two opposite concepts that I'm looking at that this book teaches, which you need to also embrace and examine, and in your knowledge acquisition, to see how that works in your life on a practical basis, and how that can also help you to change, to be able to become productive. Now, the moment you are able to attach a name to a concept, now it helps you to be able to identify, it helps you to be able to know how to manipulate it to your advantage and what to do with it. So how do you scatter focus? We've looked at how to hyperfocus. To be in hyperfocus mode, once again, I like to reiterate that you have to learn to how to get there and then how to stay there for extended periods of time. That calls for two approaches: the entry point and then the maintenance point. But now, looking at scatter focus, which is the exact opposite, this is where you generate ideas. This can happen deliberately or as a result of doing nothing at all. To get into scatter focus mode, there are a few things also you can try. You can recharge your attention, try and connect the dots, cluster your dots, form a scatter focus habit. So both are actually needed. Your approaches, both the hyperfocus and scatter focus are needed for you to scatter focus for generation of ideas, hyperfocus to stay with a flow of the idea, to come into a flow, a state of flow of the idea by you choosing deliberately that idea and eliminate all other distractions and bring your focus to bear on the idea and keep returning your attention to the idea. That is the entry point. But I haven't entered the space, the attentional space. Then you need to stay distraction free. You stay distraction free. You simplify your environment. You expand your attentional space, and you make hyperfocus a habit. Okay. Now let's look at hyperfocus. What exactly is it? Now, I've just given you the rundown, the main structure of the book, Hyperfocus by Chris Bailey. Just focuses on hyperfocus, two approaches to it. How do you enter the state of flow whereby all your attentions are focused on the idea? And how do you maintain that state until you have become productive? Then secondly, the second idea of the book. This is giving you a rundown, the skeletal structure of the book. Now, the second focus of the book is scatter focus. What's scatter focus? You can't stay in a mode of hyperfocus for all day long. Why? Because it is very intense and it's energy draining. Even when you have come out of the state, you yourself know that you have given birth to something. Of recent, I had such an experience whereby I had to get a report. I had to write a report because the deadline was looming. It requires that I had to be focused, even though there were distractions around me. But when I got into the flow, I did not want to be distracted. I just wanted to get on. And you see, what that also does is that the moment you are focused and all other things stay out of focus, what that happens, everything else pays in comparison. Sometimes you don't even remember to eat. You don't even want to eat because you don't want to break the flow of energy that is coming from you in order to achieve and fulfill that work. So hyperfocus is what actually helps you to achieve your objective, to achieve your goal. So as we're looking at this book, the main thing you must understand is that there is an entry point and there is a maintenance mode. If you have entered the state of hyperfocus whereby you are engrossed, you must know how to maintain it. Don't be distracted, because there are distractions everywhere. There are distractions around you, and then you know how to, when you have gotten out of it, and when to stay in the state of scatter focus, whereby you generate ideas, you let your mind wander about, you let your ideas, whereby you can recharge your attention, because this is not a state of intense focus now. This is the state of relaxing to generate ideas that you may also bring from the state of scatter focus to the state of hyperfocus. Now let's go further by looking at hyperfocus. Once again, I'll reiterate it. The book says it is a state where you become so engrossed in your work, you enter into a flow state where you become ultra productive. You get lots done because your entire mental faculties are tightly centered on the singular task or project at hand. Hyperfocus is highly energizing and even addictive because you accomplish an incredible amount in a short period of time. Pure and simple, when you are hyperfocused, you make just one task or project the center of your attention. That's what hyperfocus is all about. You become immersed in what you are doing at the expense of all other options. Hyperfocusing feels great because you get lots done, and when you have experienced it once, you want to do it again. Ask me about that. So Chris Bailey said, you will often accomplish more in 1 hour of hyperfocus than in an entire day spent filling your attentional space to the brim with multiple and often undeliberate concerns. So hyperfocus is the opposite of acting on autopilot. Most people tend to operate on an autopilot the majority of their time at work each day. That's okay, because autopilot mode is perfectly fine for doing routine day-to-day tasks, but you will never make progress towards your goals by staying on autopilot all the time. So to produce great results, you are always going to need to focus and do some great work. Chris Bailey, in his book Hyperfocus, says, when you tally up all of the potential things on which you could focus in your external environment, there is truly an overwhelming number of options. And that's not even counting the trivia, ideas, and memories in your own head. This is the problem with managing your attention on autopilot mode. The most urgent and stimulating things in your environment are rarely the most significant. This is why switching off autopilot mode is so critical. Directing your attention toward the most important object of your choosing and then sustaining that attention. That's where the second approach to hyperfocus is maintenance, because you have to sustain your attention in that space when you have entered the space of hyperfocus. So, and then directing your attention toward the most important object of your choosing and then sustaining that attention is the most consequential decision we will make throughout the day. We are what we pay attention to. We are what we pay attention to. That's what Chris Bailey. We are what we pay attention to. I heard somebody also says that what you focus on magnifies. What you focus on increases. So what you focus on also, what you pay attention to, is what you become, which is very true. That even reminds me of an event in the scriptures when Jacob said in a dream he saw the angel of the Lord giving him instruction on how to be productive by placing a tree that the animals, when they are mating, when they've come to the trough to take waters, they can see the tree, and by focusing on it, it will alter their genes that they can produce speckled, spotted animals. Isn't that amazing? Because the angel was just using a spiritual principle, giving it to Jacob to help him to have a physical result. That if all these animals focus in the place of their mating and the place of drinking and eating, that they will produce speckled. I think genetic engineering, I think it does start that there is genetic modification that can happen based on your focus. There can be a gene alteration depending on what you're focusing on. That's in the book of Genesis chapter 30, I reckon. So if you look at all the stars which fill your day, you find they fall into 4 distinct categories. Now, these distinct categories can be arranged into a quadrant. It can be arranged into a quadrant in which the y-axis of the quadrant stand for unproductive, productive. That is, you have a quadrant means you have 4 boxes arranged, and you have the outer left edges as the y-axis, and then you have the lower edges of the 2 boxes under the top 2 boxes. That the y-axis, the horizontal axis, becomes like unattractive and attractive. So now in the first part of the quadrant, you can have your necessary work there. This is better explained by drawing, but unfortunately I don't have the tools to be able to draw that for you to be able to see. But I will encourage you, get a copy of the book. Listen, put yourself under the discipline of not just getting these things and just joining me, but that you follow up on reading on some of these books. You could have more flesh to the skeletal structure that we are examining about each of these books that can change your playing field completely. So in the first part of the quadrant, if you move clockwise, and the first one that we move clockwise from the top of the quadrant, the first box of the quadrant, you can say that's a necessary work quadrant, necessary work box. Those tasks which, and what are those, what is that necessary work? What does it entail? Those tasks which are unattractive yet productive stay in that box. This would include team meetings and other tasks which are mandated by your boss on a daily basis in your workspace. Then below that will be unnecessary work. Right directly under that box in the quadrant are tasks which are unproductive and unattractive. So you can see on the y-axis of the quadrant, you move from unproductive to productive. So the borders of the unnecessary work show if they are unproductive on the y-axis and unattractive on the x-axis. I assume you understand what y-axis or x-axis means in mathematics, in simple elementary mathematics in your secondary school days. So now the one closest to the 0 point is on the x-axis is the unattractive one. The one closest to the 0 point on the y-axis is the unproductive one. So the box closest to unproductive and unattractive point on the y and x axis is what is called unnecessary work. So it's like if you move clockwise is the 4th box. If you move clockwise from the quadrant is the 4th box. So what's the next box? The next box on the x-axis moving outward is distracting work. So and it also shares the border for unproductive work, which is that distracting work is attractive yet unproductive. This is the black hole of productivity and will likely include social media, news website, and charts at the water cooler and so on. We all do that, don't we? You've been studying, suddenly you pick up your phone, and that takes you another. Or you've been working on something, suddenly you pick up your phone, and you see how many text messages you have received on your WhatsApp, and you want to go through each one of them. Yeah, it's good for relaxing. It's good if your attention is being very intense, very, very intense in trying to achieve something. It's good to come out of it temporarily and come into scatter focus, whereby you're relaxing, in order to, you're recharging yourself. Based on what we have seen, scatter focus mode requires that you recharge yourself. Now, the purposeful work is the last of the quadrant, and is the one directly on top of the distracting work box. And what is the purposeful work? This is the sweet spot of productivity. Here you are doing work which generates the result you ultimately aim to achieve. Purposeful work will be specific to your trade. For example, an investment advisor is doing purposeful work when meeting with clients, making investment, analyzing markets. A musician will be doing purposeful work when they rehearse and perform, and so on. I like, as an author as well, purposeful work is done when you sit down to put pen to paper, based on the books you are trying to read, you are trying to write. So logically, you want to maximize the amount of time you spend each day doing purposeful work and necessary work. Purposeful work and necessary work. They are on top of your game. They are the boxes in the quadrant on top. The two boxes in the quadrant on top. Quadrant means 4 boxes arranged together on Y and X axis. So now, one immediate way to boost your productivity is to keep a time journal where you record how much time you spend every day doing tasks in each of the 4 quadrants. Just being more aware of how you spend your time will be helpful. You find you will spend less time on autopilot and more time directing your energies towards productive and purposeful work with a journal. In other words, that means what that shows is that you are accounting for your time. You are accounting for your time. You are making yourself accountable for your time. So the other foundational concept that will help you become more productive is to understand and accept that there is a finite limit to how many things you can focus on. This limit is smaller than you might think or hope. Think of this as your personal attentional space, which might be visualized as something like an empty box, an empty rectangle. So attention space is the term. Chris Bailey said, attentional space is the term I use to describe the amount of mental capacity we have available to focus and process things in the moment. Our attentional space is what we are aware of at any given time, is the scratch pad or clipboard in our brain that we use to temporarily store information as it's being processed. Attentional space allows us to hold, manipulate, and connect information simultaneously and on the fly. When we choose what to pay attention to, that information occupies our short-term memory, and our attentional space ensures it's kept active so we can continue to work with it. The stark reality is your attentional space is small and can only hold a few items at any one time. So the heart and aim of productivity is really to manage your attentional space astutely and keep it filled with purposeful work tasks. So what is filling your attentional space right at this moment? As I'm doing this now, it is just this broadcast, it is just this teaching that is filling my attentional space. So it is important, therefore, for you to know that this is what is required of you as you are, knowing how to stay in that space is very, very crucial. It's very, very crucial. So, mental awareness is a term for being aware of what you are thinking about at any specific point in time. Simply noticing what is on your mind will start to make you more productive. Even when you think you are focusing 100% on the task, you may notice in reality your mind is also spending part of the time thinking about what is on your smartphone, your plans for the weekend, and so on. So most studies have concluded your mind wanders about 47% of the time. So this is a bigger issue than you may be aware. Note that the human brain does try and pair up tasks to fill the attentional space efficiently. Habitual tasks require little, if any, attention or conscious thoughts, so it is possible to be carrying out several habitual tasks while you concentrate on something else. Chris Bailey writes in his book, simply noticing what is occupying our attentional space has been shown to make us more productive. Simply noticing it. If you pay attention to what is on your mind, which is admittedly hard to do for more than a minute or so, you will notice that the content of your attentional space is constantly changing. Oh, I know that. The moment I get distracted, I lose the trail of my thought. I lose the train, I lose the trail, and I have to find a way to get back to it. So you will understand that it truly is a scratch pad with thoughts, tasks, conversations, projects, daydreams, conference calls, and other objects of attention continually passing through your mind. You will also find that your attentional space expands and shrinks depending on your mood. Objects of attention fade from this space just as quickly as they come, usually without your awareness. For all the power it provides, the content of your attentional space is ephemeral. Its memory lasts for an average of just 10 seconds. Ephemeral means fleeting, disappears quickly. So the central aim of hyperfocus is to maximize the amount of attentional space you dedicate to your complex project or task at hand. So the central focus, the central aim of this book that we are looking at is to help you to be aware of a state called hyperfocus, whereby you need to be consciously engaged in order for you to have a sense of dedication in that space until you have achieved your complex project or task at hand. So it means jettisoning distractions. While it is feasible to a limited extent to multitask a few small habitual tasks, you will not be able to multitask a complex task which requires your best time and attention. Furthermore, when working on a complex task, you also want to leave some attentional space spare so you can work smarter and avoid autopilot mode. That calls for thinking, calls for examination, self-examination and thinking. Okay, Chris Bailey says, you'll be able to come up with ideas you might not have had if you are filling your attention to the brim, such as the realization that you could scrap the introduction of the presentation you are going to give and instead dive directly to the point. Leaving some space also enables you to work with a greater awareness of where you should be directing your attention in the first place. That means you can better refocus when your mind inevitably wanders from the task at hand. At the same time, you have attentional space to spare if the task suddenly becomes even more complex. I hope you get that. As mentioned, the art of productivity is to manage your attention space efficiently. You have to be careful to avoid information overload, which paralyzes Yes, there is the tendency for that. You also have to prioritize what you think about with intention. The best way to do this is usually to simplify management of your attentional space down to 2 questions. First question: what exactly do you intend to accomplish right now? Secondly, what are you thinking about right at this moment? That helps you to simplify the management of your attentional space by asking yourself those 2 questions. What exactly do you intend to accomplish right now? And what are you thinking about right at this moment? Chris Bailey says, simplifying what we focus on in the moment may feel counterintuitive when we have so much to get done. Our natural impulse is to focus on as much as possible. Compounding this is the fact that the brain's prefrontal cortex, the large part of the forebrain that lets us plan, think logically, and get work done, has a built-in novelty bias. Whenever we switch between tasks, it rewards us with dopamine, that amazing pleasure chemical that rushes through our brain whenever we devour a medium-sized pizza, accomplish something awesome, or have a drink or 2 after work. You may have noticed that you instinctively reach for your tablet when you sit down to watch TV, that you can't resist keeping your email open in another window as you work, or that you feel more stimulated when your phone is by your side. Continually seeking novel stimuli makes us feel more productive. After all, we are doing more in each moment. But again, just because we are busier doesn't mean we are getting more accomplished. So, Chris Bailey continues, intention is the bouncer of your attentional space. It lets in the productive object of attention and keeps the distractions out. Few things will benefit your overall quality of life more than focusing with intention. It isn't possible to work and live with intention 100% of the time. Demands get in the way, our focus shifts, and our attention space overflows. But we can maintain our intention for enough of the day to accomplish a lot more than we would otherwise. Chris Bailey continues, one study found that when we continually switch between tasks, our work takes 50% longer compared with doing one task from start to completion. If you are working on a pressure or deadline-free project, consider taking a break before starting something else, so more of that attentional residue can dissipate. As far as your productivity is concerned, the best time to take a break is after you have finished a big task. Good. Lastly, when we invest our limited attention intelligently and deliberately, we focus more deeply and think more clearly. This is an essential skill in today's world, when we are so often in distracting environment, doing brain-heavy knowledge work. Let me repeat that last sentence. This is an essential skill in today's world. The skill to know how to engage deliberately and to think clearly by staying in the attentional space. It's a skill by itself in today's world when we are so often in distracting environment, doing brain-heavy knowledge work. Constantly getting our brain engaged. So it's important to know that this is a skill that you have to acquire, and it comes through the discipline, understanding the dynamics that are involved in this. So we are going to look on how to hyperfocus. Now we have defined what hyperfocus is. Now we are going to see how to hyperfocus. And you know, there are 2 approaches to it, as I said from the beginning of this broadcast. The first approach is the entry point. The second approach is the maintenance point. When you have entered, how do you enter into this particular mode? And how do you stay there until you have accomplished your aim? Okay, hyperfocus. How to hyperfocus? To be in hyperfocus mode, you have to learn how to get there and then how to stay there for extended periods of time, these challenges call for two different approaches. So to enter hyperfocus mode, the steps are, write this down. I hope you have a pen and a paper to be able to choose a productive task. Start with your aim. Eliminate distractions. Bring your focus to bear and keep returning your attention. Now, let's look at the first one. Choose a productive task. Choose something productive you plan to focus on, making it as meaningful to you as possible. This can be something simple if that is important to you. For example, mentoring a new employee, automating a repetitive task, brainstorming a new product idea are all good hyperfocus projects. Or let's look at the work environment. You can also look at your own life. What would you like to achieve? Now we're in the second quarter of the year now. The aim you set out to do for the year, how far has it gone? Now that you are in the second quarter, how do you progress? How do you move forward? So it's important. Your personal aims, like trying to be present in a conversation with your spouse or fully enjoying an activity with your kids, that can be an aim. That can be a task. A great reason to hyperfocus will spur you to great effort to do so. Now, the second thing you do in order to enter the hyperfocus mode, eliminate all the internal and external distractions right at the outset, so you increase the odds you will be able to hyperfocus. Make certain those distractions don't look more appealing than the result of hyperfocus. Distractions are easier to deal with in advance, so anticipate and eliminate. Third step to enter the state of hyperfocus, bring your focus to bear on the aim. Specify how long you will hunker down and focus on your chosen project. Gradually keep increasing the length of your hyperfocus sessions as you gain more experience and confidence. Lastly, the fourth step to enter the approach of entry. To enter, look at me, tautology, approach, to enter the approach of entry. No, what I meant to say is that it's an approach. Your entry point is an approach by itself. There is an approach to it. We have looked at the first three steps. The fourth step is keep returning your attention back to your selected project. Whenever your mind wanders, keep going back there. Studies have shown the human mind wanders aimlessly for around 47% of the day. Wow. That's almost 12 hours. Those same studies also show it takes an average of 22 minutes to resume working on a task once you get distracted. The more often you assess what you are thinking about and bring your thoughts back to the project at hand, the better. So self-assessment comes in here now. So in practice, the key to getting into hyperfocus mode is to choose what to focus on and then to tame any and all distractions which subsequently come along. Chris Bailey says, intention should always precede attention. You like that? Intention should always precede attention. In fact, the two ideas pair perfectly. Intention setting allows us to decide how we should spend our time. Focusing our attention on that task gets it done efficiently. The best way to become more productive is to choose what you want to accomplish before you begin working. 3 daily rituals which may be helpful in fortifying your intention to hyperfocus are: apply the rule of 3. At the start of each day, choose 3 things you want to have accomplished by day's end. Articulating and clarifying your 3 most important tasks for the day will help you focus. Write them on a whiteboard that you can see from your desk. You might also find it handy to set 3 weekly intentions and 3 daily personal intentions as well. So the rule of 3 for your day, for your week, and for your day, for your week. 3 intentions. Rule of 3. Have 3 intentions for your week that will require you having 3 intentions for your days in breaking them down. So that's the rule of 3. Let me read that again. Apply the rule of 3 means at the start of each day, choose 3 things you want to have accomplished by day's end. First, rule 1. Articulating and clarifying your 3 most important tasks for the day will help you focus. That's still rule 1. Write them on a whiteboard that you can see from your desk. You might also find it handy to set 3 weekly intentions and 3 daily personal intentions as well. 3, 3, 3. When it's becoming 4, 5, 6, it causes distraction. You are not able to, well, that is to also say your daily planner. You are able to plan your day by writing down what you want to achieve for the day, and as you are achieving them, you are ticking them. That's done, that's done, that's done. Now, always rank, secondly, in your 3 daily rituals, always rank your to-do list in terms of which items are most consequential, as the most important tasks tend not to feel urgent. Look for items which are like dominoes and will set off a chain reaction which ultimately lets you accomplish much more. For example, writing a guide for new hires won't feel like it is as urgent as answering some emails, but over the long time it will save you. It will save you hundreds of hours of orientation training. Make sure those kinds of items don't get crowded out just because they are long-time aim. Thirdly, under your 3 daily rituals, which may be helpful in fortifying your intention to hyperfocus, try using an early awareness chime. Set your phone or smartwatch to chime each hour throughout your workday. When the chime rings, ask yourself, what was on my mind when the chime rang? Am I on autopilot or am I hyperfocusing? Am I immersed in a productive task? What's the most consequential task right now? How full is my attentional space at the moment? Are there distractions I can eliminate? And early check-ins is helpful in getting into the practice of hyperfocusing more frequently. You can also place other clues in your office or workplace to achieve the same effect. So it is important that you know how to do this. Another good way to boost your intention to be productive is to replace vague statements with specifics. A recent study has shown setting specific intentions can double or triple your odds of success. For example, go to the gym is a vague intention. Specific means schedule the gym for my lunch break. Schedule the gym for my lunch break. That's intention. That's not a vague one. That is intentional. That is specific. Or lose some weight. That's a vague intention. What you could do is say no to dessert at the restaurant. Or stop being nervous in presentations. That's also a vague intention. Specific intention will be welcome nerves as they give me an edge. And you welcome them. That is, you are conscious of them and you hone them. And therefore you're able to channel them for the spur of energy for yourself, or creativity, dynamism. So it's also useful to have a predetermined hyperfocus ritual that you follow whenever you want to hyperfocus. This doesn't need to be complex and will probably include simple steps like specify how long you want to hyperfocus, start with 15 minutes and expand as you get better. Also, anticipate likely obstacles and address those obstacles. Set a timer and put your phone on airplane mode. Keep reminding yourself you are trying to focus if your mind wanders. Walk around the constraint of your workplace and be smart in your planning. Schedule blocks of hyperfocus time into your schedule. Anticipate how averse you will be to working on a specific project and build in some sweeteners that will motivate you to start and keep going. Build your ability to focus over time. Start where you are at and build your focus performance. Good. I think I'll have to stop here for today because of the time. We have 10 minutes more and I still have quite a number I need to cover. But you can see what our strategy is. Looking at hyperfocus, we are looking at the entry point and then we're looking at the maintenance after entry, which is the next one. In order to create an hyperfocus habit, we have to use an approach that makes you to know how to maintain it. Maintaining is sustaining your hyperfocus habit. So it's a skill, and this is going to help you towards achieving your aim for the week, for the month, for the year. Okay, thank you for joining me tonight as I have covered the first part. It may just be 3 weeks for us to fully cover this book, Hyperfocus. But I want to encourage you to also to be able to get more mileage out of this coverage, out of this book, that you are able to get a copy of it, and in getting a copy of it, that helps you to be able to get them to maximize the content of the book. Very, very important. Thank you for staying with me tonight. Thank you for watching, for listening to me. You can play this again and again to help you to get the best after the book that we have. Now, what is rolling on the screen is just what we normally use for Wednesday Empowerment Hour. It's not necessarily for this hour, but then notwithstanding, this is a program of Kingdom Arena Luton, Awaken the Leadership in You, and that if you feel like to give towards it by what we have looked at, good. Otherwise, thank you for being part of today's broadcast, and I'm grateful that you stayed this long to finish it. Thank you. I hope to see you next week. But before I finish the broadcast, we have a service here in Kingdom Arena Luton on Sunday, which we will enjoin you to join us, either online or physically. We are back to church now. We have physical presences at church. Join us. Be part of us. I believe you have been blessed. I believe God's touching you. We have spiritual empowerment. We have mental empowerment. Mental empowerment is what we have done today by looking at books periodically that can help us to play our role well. Because since we still have mental agility, it's important we also know how to get our agility empowered, our agility on an upscale, so that we can play our game well. Spiritual empowerment is what Empowerment Hour on Wednesday touches. And our service on Sunday also, please join us. It covers every area. And I believe God's intention, God's thought towards you are not of evil but of good, to give you a hope and to give you a future. Is in the process of adding values to you. This is what this program does for you, adding values to you. Thank you. See you on Sunday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. God bless you.